careful. You might learn something.
Let's go.
You are now tuned in to the Factual Opinions Podcast with your hosts. I am Pharaoh. Straight facts.
What's up, world? This is Factual Opinions Podcast, Season 5, Episode 18, calling it Ruthless Records. This is in honor of the late Eazy-E, Eric Wright, who I forgot to make my tribute to when his birthday came about earlier this month, which I'll be doing for Throwback Thursday tomorrow, and because we are getting ruthless on the track here with the sports and topics that we're going to be talking about today. So it's your host, I am Pharaoh, checking in with the Brown, Bruce Wayne, Big John.
Yes, sir.
AKA Will G Money, Will Johnson.
What's going on? What's going on?
We will probably be without the services of Will West, the best. Nate don't know. He may pop in at some time today, but the show must go on. So unfortunately, we'll be starting off on a somber note. Do want to pay tribute to franchise legend that was lost yesterday. Unfortunately, former Bengals running back Rudy Johnson passed away at the age of 45 yesterday, allegedly, at least reportedly, due to self-inflicted suicide. He had been going through some mental issues and CTE, and more so than just that, which a lot of people like to attribute. A lot of these gentlemen do suffer once they walk away from the game with identity crisis and feeling relevant and their place in society after they no longer are on that stage. So I know that was part of it. But Rudy was a special running back here, although he took over for my favorite running back and Bengals player of all time, Corey Dillon. Rudy was definitely part of the turnaround here in Cincinnati, making the Bengals respectable here. So want to give him his credit. And actually, still to this day, Rudy Johnson, of course, drafted in 2001, the fourth round by the Cincinnati Bengals, is the career fourth all-time leading rusher for the Cincinnati Bengals. So they've been playing football since 1969, and Rudy is number 4 all-time on the career rushing list with 5,742 yards. And most importantly and impressively, he is still the franchise's single-season leading rusher in 2005 when he ran for 1,458 yards. So shout out to his family, give a bunch of hugs and support to them. Again, tragic loss for the Cincinnati Bengals, but do want to pay homage to one of the better players in franchise history. I guess we could stick with the Bengals. Since the last time we were on, gentlemen, speaking of tragic, events went down. Franchise quarterback Joe Burrow went down with turf toe injury. Now, I made a little mini rant earlier this week. It was all I said because I had been off of social media, so to speak, more than I would want to be. But I listened to everybody who was being delusional, being Bengals fans to the core, which I am too, but a certain realism has to, take effect. Everybody was on the Jake Browning train. Oh, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna be all right with Jake Browning. Okay. On Sunday, the Bengals lost to the Minnesota Vikings was the worst in franchise history. Now, why is that important? Because all of us on this show right now were reared and brought up during the lost decade, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which arguably was the worst stretch of Bengals football in franchise history. We went winless for 15 years, we didn't have a winning season for 15 years, didn't make the playoffs, but yet Sunday was the worst loss in franchise history. And you telling me we're going to be okay without Joey B? Listen, Brown family spent a lot of money, and I'm going to let Will take over on this one because I got to tag everybody since Nate's not here to do it. The Brown family spent a lot of money this offseason that people unfairly and wrongly criticized and said that they wouldn't, and they did. And it wasn't to go 8-9, 9-8, try to backdoor into a first round wild card playoff loss. They're in trouble unless they go out and they trade for Kirko Chains, aka Kirk Cousins, unless they trade for famous Jameis, there are a few veteran quarterbacks that are sitting on the bench right now collecting dust. And I think it would behoove the Cincinnati Bengals to make a trade for one of them and try to save this season, because you're not going to do it with Jake Browning. Brother Will, your comments.
Well, first and foremost, the Joe Burrow injury was unfortunate. Um, but if something is going on with the offense, because in all fairness, it wasn't like the Bengals offense in the first game and in the first 5 quarters under Joe Burrow looked great. We had
Right?
a real good drive against Jacksonville, got Chase got his touchdown, but outside of that, the offense wasn't moving the ball or anything like that. As it relates to um the game this past week, those games happen, right? And we can blame it all on Jake Browning, but we paid Chase, we paid Higgins. The other guys got to step up and do their jobs. Way too many fumbles, the interception that was for a pick six, it ended up being a tip pass. Those things happen, and then down from there was a downward spiral. I had posted something that said that the loss to the Vikings was on the captains and the coaches. And I'm gonna put it mainly on the captains. And the reason why I feel that way is because we spent all week being extremely sad and almost defeated by the loss of Joe Burrow. And I think in
Rightfully
those moments,
so.
it can be rightfully so, but you both are former athletes. At the end of the day, what you put out there has to be the mantra and the mantra of the team. And we can't spend the whole week going up and then going into another game where we're just very, very sad and depressed outwardly about what's going on with Joe. All I heard was, it's sad, it's unfortunate, this, that, another, but I really didn't hear the confidence in the team where they say, you know what, we're gonna try to win as many games. We're gonna win as many games, and when Joe gets back, we'll be able to get rolling and different things like that. It was almost like, yeah, it's over. And we were 2-0. We're 2-1. Last time I checked, we still leading the division. I feel like that game was, like I said, I feel like that game was it's just one of those games where everything that bad it happened. And it was good that we had the 2 games, and we start off 2-0. We had the 2 games, and at the end of the day, we got to get ready and grind for the Monday night game against Denver. Like, it is what it is at this point. Joe is not going to be back until earliest is December, which I don't know if he's going to be back at all for the whole season, but the earliest they're saying is December. Guys got to play. Guys got to step up. Defense got to step up. Coaches got to coach better. All players got to get better. Game plans got to be better. All of those things got to get better. All
The
of those things have to
beautiful,
get better.
the beautiful Michelle Heiss, mother of my little cousin Serenity, says, no, they need to spend more money. Well, we'll get into that in a second, Miss Michelle. I'll
Y'all
address
about to
that.
make me cave for Mike Brown, but Mike Brown didn't he spent money. You
He
can't
spent money.
Players
I
gotta
don't. I
play.
don't. That's why
Yeah,
I made that
players.
face. I'm
Yeah, players gotta play, man. We can't. Players fumbled. Jamar Chase, $40 million player, fumbled in the game on a drive where they were driving. Fumbled twice.
twice.
Yeah, fumbled twice. That's $40
It's
million
it's
player. We don't pay you to fumble.
Big John,
Noah
go ahead.
Fant fumble. Like,
it's,
players gotta play
it's a
better. My bad.
mixture. No, you good. It's a mixture of 3 different things. I think a lot of fans that Alex referring to are overly optimistic, which is a good thing to be, but you have to be reasonable and realistic that you don't have your franchise quarterback. Now, what Will alluded to, saying we are all former athletes, the mantra is always next man up, do your job. And the people that have to pick up the slack, like Will said, whether it's the Chases, the T. Higgins, the defenses, the Hendricksons that just got paid too as well, y'all got to step up. And coaches got to come up with a better game plan. And we know that our head coach does not like to run the football. We don't even really have a
Bing,
huge
bing, bing,
running
bing.
presence. Chase Brown is cool. Chase Brown is cool, but he is not an every down back. He is not and I hate to keep bringing him up, but he's not a Joe Mixon guy. He's not a guy that's going to take the punishment. Pause. He's an outside running guy. So with that being said, that's how you protect Joe Burrow. That's why Joe Burrow, when he did have good seasons, he had a running presence. You have 2 6'8" offensive tackles. Run the ball. But the head coach doesn't like to. And that's why the defense knows of the opposite team knows what's coming. They know 9 times out of 10 the ball is in the air. And what the old coach says, it's only 2 things that can happen when you throw the ball that much, and they both bad. So,
Now that's surprising that Big John would quote the legendary 5-time national champion head coach of the Woody Hayes. What he say? When you pass the ball, only 3 things can happen, and 2 of them are bad. Now I'm not gonna quite go back to the 3 yards in a cloud of dust days of Woody, but I do know that there was a pretty sickening stat out there that the Bengals were the first team in NFL history, I believe, to go 2-0, not having more than 50 yards on the ground in both of those victories. It's not sustainable. Um, Certainly, teams can key in on you even with Joe Burrow, and as Will mentioned, wasn't it if they were lighting it up before that even happened, but certainly weren't going to when you're transitioning in a backup quarterback first game. And Brian Flores deserves some credit too for the Vikings, who is what I consider to be a defensive guru and probably will be a head coach again, if not next year or as soon as next year. But it was definitely, shall we say, handpicked for that type of effort to, surface with everything that we just mentioned. Zach has to run the ball more. They have to get more of a push up front to create some type of balance and keep the defense, somewhat honest. And that's not happening right now either. Body language, as Will mentioned, I'll get into that too. I didn't really want to mention it, but I guess I have to. I know partly T and Uno were upset because they weren't getting the ball as often as they would like to. And part of it is, yes, Jake Browning didn't have time. Other times he wasn't really throwing it that well out to them. But we'll mention, Uno fumbled. I didn't necessarily like his effort even in trying to recover the ball and just how he looked at certain times during the game. And I don't do this. I don't pocket watch. You all know this. I believe Jamar Chase deserved every penny that he got paid this offseason. But I do know this: if you are getting paid over $40 million a year, you can't even remotely look like you quit at any point in time during the game. I don't care what the score is. Like, if you're getting paid that and as one of the leaders and he is a captain, your body language has to be better than that. I did see him and T look very despondent, at a certain point during the game, and they're allowed to do that. I mean, the game wasn't going the way that they wanted it to, but I just mean as far as effort. Noah Fant fumbling, as you said, the amount of turnovers made it what it was, and the guy Rodgers had a hell of a game for Minnesota. Right place, right time, several times, not just the 2 uh, touchdowns that he, returned. So it was a perfect storm, yes, Will. But when I say you need to look at entertaining going to get a Jameis Winston or a Kirko Chains, because I'm just looking at the overall picture. My feeling is that Jake Browning at best gives you average. He's above average as far as backup quarterbacks are. I want to make that clear. I do believe you could do a whole lot worse than Jake Browning as a backup quarterback. But when you come into the season with expectations to make a deep playoff run or to make a potential return to the Super Bowl, that's not going to happen with Jake Brown. I hate to tell Bengals fans that, but I'm just being completely honest. Like, that is not going to happen with Jake Brown. And I do believe Kirk Cousins or Jameis Winston, the Giants just benched. I wouldn't trade for this guy, but I'm just saying there are veterans out there. The Giants just benched Russell Wilson today. There are guys out there that will give you a better chance at winning than Jake Browning. And I believe you owe that to your team. You owe that to the fans in this city to try to do this. Now, people are gonna laugh when I say this, but even a few years ago, when the Browns picked Joe Flacco off the couch, that was still a Super Bowl winning, veteran quarterback after an injury to Deshaun Watson. They're like, we're going to at least try this. And that's what I think the Bengals need to do. Now, I do believe, just from watching my beloved Bengals all my life, they probably are going to say, oh, we're going to ride this out with Jake Browning and see what happens. And I'm like, well, if I can see it, I know you all can see it down there who have access every day to the squad and the players.
So I agree. Like, don't get it twisted. I agree. They need to. I say go and get Jameis. I think Jameis is the quarterback that we need. I think one thing it does is that it secures us. If anything happened to Jake Browning, like if anything happens to him, you want to have somebody in. I think you also bring somebody in to push Jake Browning, right? A veteran quarterback who knows how to play, who has the skill. I think he has the skill set to fit the offense. He got an arm. So I think Uno and Higgins will like that. He could push the ball down. So I just think it builds a level of confidence and trust within the organization. So I agree that they need to go out and get a veteran quarterback. I think Kirk Cousins' price tag is too much for the Bengals that they'll be willing to give up, and the money that Kirk Cousins is going to come in with will be too tough. But um, at the end of the day, I just think they need to go and get a better. I think they need to get a proven veteran quarterback and not just somebody just off the street or somebody just not going to push Jake Browning to feel
So
any type of pressure. So I do think they need to have that. And I also, so I disagree with the flack that the Bengals organization has been getting. Like, I just don't. When players have to play, and I think Bengals fans are so uh, we are so used to
we're jaded.
us being yeah, that's the word. Thank you, sir. We're just jaded, right? And one thing that we don't do here is that we don't hold our stars accountable. When one of our better players aren't playing well or not doing what they're supposed to do, we blame it on coaching. We blame it on the organization and different things like that. It's a false narrative about, once again, we done had this conversation many times. A false narrative that the Bengals don't pay players. They all mostly every great player that the Bengals has had has got a second contract. Now, as far as third contracts, a lot of players don't get the third contract. But at the end of the day, all the great top players done got a second contract from the Bengals.
I want I want to, not to cut you off, brother, because I want
No,
to
you good.
piggyback on that, especially about the organization, because we've had that conversation before. But Michelle was saying, they couldn't take care of Burrow, so they really weren't going to be able to take care of Browning as far as blocking. Well, that's a whole nother thing, because there's also a stat that Shefty, NFL lead insider, senior insider for ESPN, Adam Schefter posted, Joe Burrow, since he's come into the league, has not had an offensive line that graded out of the bottom 5 quartile percentage. Not one time has he had an offensive line. There's 32 NFL teams. Not one time has he had an offensive line that ranked outside of number 25. And for everybody that wants to call Joe Burrow injury prone and this and that, I just challenge you to watch any other NFL game that you watch. See, Will's making a face, but watch any other NFL game and tell me that NFL quarterback gets hit more than Joe Burrow. Go ahead.
I agree with what you're saying. I have no problem with you saying. I agree with it. But they are slightly getting better. I like the guard they got. I like Mims. But one thing I will say, watching that Cleveland game, Joe takes a lot of unnecessary hits that he doesn't have to take. That series that he took 3 sacks by the same person, he held the ball. Now, I understand he was trying to make a play. He held the ball too long.
Say the person's name, too, because that
And
gives
also,
context.
Orlando Brown.
No,
That's the
I'm
problem.
saying that
Oh, you
who
talking about
sacked
Myles Garrett? Yeah, Myles
Yeah.
Garrett. Myles Garrett.
Because
I
I think that's appropriate context.
Nobody's denying Myles Garrett is
thought
Myles
it was-
Garrett.
I just thought it was time to slander
saying-
Orlando Brown. I'm sorry.
You remember on the longest yard when Goldberg was about to hit the quarterback, he was like, get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it. That's what I be screaming screaming at Joe Burrow. Every time he holds the ball, get rid of it, get rid of it. Also, coach, protect your guy. Make plays to protect your future. Like they don't protect him, but he doesn't protect himself. And also protect him from himself.
Yeah,
How you supposed to do?
That's what I got.
How is Joe? So how do you protect Joe Burrow? How?
how do you
Tell me.
protect Joe Burrow? Well,
How do you
Yeah.
protect?
first of all, this is a really easy question, Will. First of all, and this is partly on Joe as well, but to Zach Taylor, you can't go empty formation that often and think that your quarterback is not going to get dinged and hurt. The percentage of how often they go empty formation, leave somebody back. You brought that overrated backup running back in Samaje P. Ryan for whatever reason, but if you want to have him back there to protect, if you want to motion your guy over, my tight end, I can't believe Drew Sample's still here sometimes, but you have to have some type of protection and not have everybody 4 or 5 wide out, nobody back there. Also, it would help if you could get the running game going. Tony had mentioned earlier, saying that they are actually trying to run the ball. Well, here's the thing, though, Tony, and you know this: trying to and actually getting it done are two different things. So, whether that means the kid Taj Brook needs to get more carries, or you look to go on the street, there are running backs out there. Obviously Chase Brown, as I said from the beginning, is a complementary piece. Never thought at any point that he should be used as the main feature back. I thought that he would have to be part of a running back by committee, room, whatever you need to do to make that adjustment. But that would be my thing. Now he's going to go 11 personnel, speaking of Zach Taylor and what he wants to do. There is not a fullback on the roster. Dan Orlovsky talked about this on ESPN. He flat out said the Bengals season is over. I'm trying not to go to that extreme, but he said even if it's not, he said this. I forgot the terminology that he used. This iteration or version of the Bengals needs to be over, and he was talking about exactly what I just said about the heavy presence for empty formation and not protecting Joe, not establishing really any type of physicality up front to keep defenses honest. Otherwise, you are going to have an Andrew Luck situation, and I don't know how many more of these, Joe Burrow could keep taking. So that's really my take. Is it needs to be a change in philosophy, and I don't know, Will, that your guy even has the capability of doing that because that's not him. That's not the school of thought that he comes from, and that's not the style of football that he plays.
That's why I said. That's why I said the loss against Minnesota was on captains and coaching. I'm not discrediting Zach Taylor away from any responsibility as it relates to this. I asked the question about because Joe Burrow likes to be an empty.
Yes,
It's
he does.
almost like he hasn't realized that empty isn't working. Joe has full range of the play calling. He can make audibles. He can do all those things. He can change plays. He call his own play. All of those things. I believe Joe he's an athlete. He's a jock at heart. So at the end of the day, he wants to go out there with the ball in his hand and make plays. He want to push the ball down the field. He want to make plays. He want to make the big splash plays because Joe Burrow feels like he's the best quarterback in the league, and rightfully so. Joe has to understand as well, hey, this isn't working. We need to bring a running back in, extra tight end in. I need to get under center more. I need to get the ball out of my hand quicker. I don't need to keep trying to go downfield and make 15, 20-yard plays each and every time. Let's take a 2, a 5, a 7. Let's get the ball moving that way. That opens up the run and all of those things. So it's a
That
mixture of both. That's why I don't mean to cut you off. I'm going to let you go. But that's why I said maybe Joe and Zach just don't mix. And that may be the case. Joe and Zach maybe just are not a good complementary of each other. Because when Jake Browning was in the game against Jacksonville, the offense looked great outside, and every interception that Jake threw was on him. It was him making a bad read, him making a bad plays. The play was open, he was just making bad reads. But like I said, the first game against Cleveland, and Cleveland has shown that they're a dominant defense. But the first
Yeah.
game against Cleveland, the offense looked horrible. The first quarter against Jacksonville, it looked mediocre and best. They came out that second half against Jake Brown, and the ball was moving up and down the field. So maybe just Joe and Zach don't mix. I just don't like the fact that we blame everything on the organization and nothing on the players. The players got to play better.
I'm gonna get back to that before I forget that about the organization piece, but I did want to comment on what else you said. Same thing that draws guys to Joe, both as fans, the organization, players that want to run through a wall for him. That holding on to the ball can be detrimental. It's also what's made Joe Burrow because he's not afraid to step up in the pocket and hang in there that extra second and make that throw, which sometimes has benefited the team. But it's a double-edged sword. He is getting older. I think all quarterbacks go through that maturation process where they have to learn and have that internal clock, and they have to, as Will said, protect themselves at a certain point. Because you can draw up whatever you want, but if you're exposing yourself to those type of hits, even more mobile guys like Lamar Jackson have learned over the years to kind of pick their battles more, so to speak, and not put themselves out there like that. And by the way, I know we're talking Bengals right now. Uh, King Henry has to stop fumbling, man. Not that I'm
Unless he playing against the
complaining.
Bengals.
Yeah, not that I'm complaining as a Bengals fan, but just as a football fan overall. Like, my goodness, man, those fourth quarter fumbles have killed his team to start the year.
But going back to Joe, the preseason game against the Commanders, I will never forget. Like, it was the second quarter or something like that. I think it was the last drive he was in. Like, he was running around trying to make a play in a preseason game. Like,
Yeah,
you're
that was
Joe
ridiculous.
Burrow. Like, he's running east and west and then north and south. Like, get the ball out of your hand. And everybody will look at that and be like, well, the offensive line gave you more time. Like, we all know you got 2 to 3 seconds to make a decision. At the end of the day, but Joe, it's a preseason game. Get the ball out. It ain't there. It ain't open. Get the ball out your
And
hand. You need
that's
to
what I
call
mean
Tom Brady.
about protecting
Yeah.
yourself more. Because my favorite quarterback of all time, people may know that follow this show or this platform, is still scrambling Randall Cunningham. And he had to learn, himself. Now, it took him blowing out his knee, to learn to protect himself. And we obviously don't want anything like that, but that's already happened, to Joe here. So he has to be more cognizant. And then I'm gonna get Big John in here. But I do want to comment on what Will said about I think there are certain Bengals fans that are just preconditioned at this point to blame, in particular, the front office and Mr. Brown. Now, we all know on here that there are several reasons why I don't criticize Mr. Brown or Miss Blackburn on here, both personally and professionally. So I'm not going to start doing that today. But what I am going to say is exactly what Will said. They can go out and spend the money to bring whoever you want in here. The players still have to get the job done on the field. Mr. Brown had nothing to do. Well, I'm sorry, and this is just my opinion. He had nothing to do with what happened Sunday. I don't care who was hurt, who wasn't. That was abysmal. A lot of it was coaching, a lot of it was attitude. I said in my post on Facebook earlier this week that I do believe there was a Joe Burrow injury hangover, and it may have taken them a week to, get over that. But it is incumbent upon the guys on the locker room to change that dynamic and get the juice going, similar to the way they did during the Jacksonville game in the second, half. So that's on the players. I don't again, Mr. Brown is not out there making the tackle on 4th and 1. Like, that has nothing to do with this. So I'm not blaming him. I'm not blaming Miss Blackburn. And again, as far as the money that they spent, it was a lot.
And
And I
timeout. They did everything you wanted the organization to do. They signed Joe first. They done did,
signed T. Higgins.
they signed Joe, they signed T, they signed Jamar. They tried to work a contract in with Trey. They end up
They
signing,
gave him
give
a
him
pay raise.
gave him a pay raise, right? They brung in Orlando Brown. They brung in different people on that offensive line. They have tried everything that they can do to build a winning franchise here in Cincinnati. That's why I am sitting here and I'm not mad. Like when you got talented players, like it's a salary cap. So they can't go out and just get everybody in there, all the great players in the NFL at the salary that they want. So you gotta be able to strike well in the draft, which that's maybe something that they need to invest some more time and more resources is whoever it is the draft people.
This regime doesn't draft well.
Yeah, they haven't drafted well.
Go get Marvin Lewis to be the GM.
No. He should have never. They should have just promoted him.
Yeah,
they need to get Marvin Lewis back in the building as the draft person because
he rarely missed in the draft unless guys suffered injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And Duke has not been doing a good job the past few years.
Yeah,
just flat out.
It is definitely not an administration issue. It's the players not playing to their capability, and it's also the coaching. And it's funny that y'all said something about how they looked on the sidelines. Losing your quarterback is, especially a quarterback of your caliber, is definitely detrimental. But it reminded me of remember the Titans when Sunshine came back to the sideline, can't make that pitch, Petey. and Petey was like, "Well, we ain't gonna never get in unless we up by 50 points. See, that's how we ain't gonna
see
get
that ain't never gonna happen."
And I'm saying that because that's how I kind of looked at Higgins and Chase. Like, all right, we got paid. We the guys. I don't care. It's like they already checking out. And that's what it reminded me of, man. So you can't do that as the leaders. You can't do that as a team. The coaching has to put the players in the best position to make plays, and they're not doing it. Nobody's doing their job right now, except for the administration.
AD said we need famous Jameis. If for nothing else, see, and I say this jokingly but seriously also, if we're talking about the morale of guys,
he
and it not being where it needs to be, Jameis Winston alone from an inspiration standpoint.
I know you watch it. You don't mess with my guy, but Jameis is the guy, man. Y'all keep.
I agree.
Leave my homie Jameis alone, man.
Jameis, no, but I really feel like Jameis would be the one that pull Chase to the side. Come on, man, you a $40 million guy. Come on, man, we need you. He gonna say it in a way for Chase to get, for T to get. He's gonna have some morale. He's gonna walk into the locker room happy. All that foolishness,
that positive attitude, the confidence. That Jameis Winston knows and still believes to this day he can make every throw on the field,
and he can.
Yeah, and he can.
And his price tag, as Will mentioned, the contract will work perfectly. Now I threw Kirko Chains out there, but you're right. The Bengals can't and shouldn't trade for Kirk Cousins because to take on that contract right now would be murderous row for the salary cap.
Mm-hmm. And once again, that game against Minnesota, like anything that could have went wrong. Like the tip interception, the fumble, that get returned. Like they gave up like 21 points on defense.
Yeah.
Like the defense for Minnesota scored 21 points. So now the offensive morale is already down. Now you got guys, now you done really took the running game out of the game. You know what I'm saying? Because you want to come back and try to win. So you're forcing Jake Browning to try to be a shootout style quarterback, and that's not what he is. If the game is close, Jake Browning makes good enough plays, and he puts the ball in the players' hands in the area where they can excel.
But now you see, and I know everybody on this program already did, but now you see how crucial Joe Burrow is. Because regardless of how it looked in the first game or whatever, this team was set up for Joe to be out there and overcome some of the Bengals' shortcomings. And for the most part, he does and has the ability to win games. I won't say by itself, but, because of his elevated level of play and competitiveness. That's not what you necessarily get for a backup. See, when I think about a backup quarterback, for the most part, unless you are in an extremely lucky situation, I think about what Mike Tomlin says. Your backup quarterback is supposed to be able to get you out the stadium. He's supposed to be able to do what happened against Jacksonville. Like, hey, we got out of here. Let's figure it out again next week if you're going to be back out there. The days of a Jeff Hosteller. I'm trying to think of
Frank
another
Wright.
guy. Yeah, Frank Wright,
Frank
Nick
Wright.
Nick Foles. Getting it done. See, and I just named two that got it done. Frank Wright won a couple games for Jim Kelly, but he he didn't win the chip. I'm just thinking of backup quarterbacks that actually won the chip would be Jeff Hosteller and uh,
Nick
who did I
Foles.
just say? Yeah, Nick
Nick
Foles
Foles.
that came to mind. But so what's the answer? Because I do want to. Because sometimes I cheat my Buckeyes out of enough talk because I spend so much time on the Bengals. Do they need to go ahead? Because personally, I think that's the only answer. And the way this season gets saved is if they go trade for Jameis Winston. Somebody else mentioned Shador, but I'm telling you, like as much as I love Shador, he's not ready. It wouldn't work out. Don't get your hopes up and think about that. Like
The
you need
only
a
thing,
veteran.
the only thing that's me personally, I think the season is done. Bringing in Jameis would help. They have to have and I'm not trying to sound like a lineman or old leatherhead, but it's gonna happen. Every team that's successful has a running game, either by committee or they have one or two guys. They can't look at Detroit, look at the Ravens. Even when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, they had a running game. Like it's not going to work without it. The more they keep trying to go away from it and play this basketball on grass, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. So I think it's done until they change philosophies. They're not this season's done.
I said for years the only thing, and what was so funny last year were the fans that were talking about how good Joe Mixon was doing in Houston were the same fans that wanted him gone and were trying to blame him like he was part of the problem. And I'm like, I kept saying like, what game are you watching? The only thing that separated the Bengals and kept them on par with the Chiefs and competing with and beating them sometimes was the fact that we had an elite running back. There was nothing else that was really separating us from the Ravens and the Bills and the other top tier AFC teams that were trying to chase the Chiefs. Joe Mixon was the separator. He made us a complete football team. So now, because the league itself, not just the Bengals, have devalued the running back position, everybody thinks that they can get by with that running back by committee, thing. And unless you're Will's favorite quarterback in his prime, or speaking of Aaron Rodgers, discount double check, or the guy that replaced him, discount double check, Patrick Mahomes, more often than not, you're not going to be able to do that. Now, the Chiefs have figured out a way, battling the salary cap, being a small market team, getting rid of certain players and replacing them. They've done the same thing and won Super Bowls. So that is the part where it is kind of incumbent on the organization to figure out what holes they have to plug and who they can pay, who they can't, which I think they've done, but it's still up for the guys that are out there to get it done. And
The
before
Chief.
we move on from the Bengals, I'm just gonna say what Keith Jackson used to say on TV, you know, there's a reason that guy was starting.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to say next man up, and you have to as athletes. We know that when you're on the field, you got to prepare. Our Schroeder Jaguars are probably gonna have to do the same thing this week without BMAC at quarterback. It is next man up, but yeah, let's be realistic. Like there's gonna be a difference without your guy, but that's why you have to have leaders out there and coaches that redirect the focus. Get everybody out that fog and ready to go. So
Well, the Chief. Well, you mentioned the Chief, and what the Chief has showed you is that Andy does a great job with that offense, and Coach Spags is a hell of a defensive coach. That's coaching that's putting him over the top. I have
yeah,
not. I have been what people call Zach Taylor's. I've been a Zach Taylor supporter,
yes you
right?
are.
I ain't go. I'm not gonna
Yes you
deny
are.
it. But Zach has. This is the time where Zach has to, like John said, he got to switch his philosophy up and different things like that in order for them to be better. And I'm going to continue to say these things. The you know what can happen? The players need to all look at themselves in the mirror and be like, Joe, is not coming through that door. If we want to win, if we want to compete, we all got to step our game up. Offensive line, defensive line, wide receivers, linebackers,
And I think
secondary.
fans need to
Everybody
accept
got it.
that too,
Like
because
everybody
the
need to do
whole
that.
3 month thing, I'm telling you right now, he's probably not coming back this year. And as much as it pains me to say this, it'd probably be a good thing, because if he tries to rush and something catastrophic, happens, and that's provided the Bengals are even in playoff contention at that, point.
If
It's
they're in
just
playoff
not,
contention, he's coming back. I'm sorry.
but it's just not an easy injury to come back from. My favorite football player of all time, who Will hates, his career ended because of turf toe.
You got to stop that. Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders is one of my favorite football players ever. I'm critical of Coach Prime. Deion Sanders. That's the guy. I'm sorry. Like I'm just critical of Coach Prime. Deion, come on now, man. Deion, one of
Well,
my
John
favorite
says
players
it's
ever.
over. I say
I'm
unless they trade for famous Jameis, it's over.
I'm still extremely optimistic because I believe in Chase. I believe in T. I believe in Trey. I even like Al Golden. And like another thing happened. We didn't force any
Oh,
turnovers. We ain't force no turnovers or anything against Minnesota. Like anything that could have went wrong went wrong.
Well,
And it
Al
was just a
Golden
bad
is
game.
kind of creating a stalemate, as if
Yeah.
a bend but
He's a
don't break.
bend but don't break. But I think
I
but
can see
everybody
that.
has to
It's
step
not
up.
elite, but he's
Yeah.
not making it a problem either with the defensive side. The turnovers and
I
everything just set the course for the way last game,
Yeah.
went.
I say it's over because the Ravens are going to right the ship. Number one, they're going to right the ship, bro. They're not going to keep playing like they're going to play. They're finna beat up on the Chiefs this week. They're going to be 2-2. They're going to right the ship. The Steelers with Mike Tomlin are going to be fine, and Aaron Rodgers has been playing decent. They're going to be fine. Where the Bengals, they probably I hope they're in front of Cleveland. I'm gonna just say that. I hope they stay in front of Cleveland.
Listen here. Cleveland may win 2 more games because their offense is atrocious.
Yeah, I'm saying,
The defense is
but
amazing. The offense is atrocious. I
they're not
believe
they're not catching the
that
Steelers with the Ravens. Then.
Well,
I
somebody
believe
outside, Big John. I keep, it's getting
Nah,
close to Halloween.
next door. That's just next door.
I believe that we believe in the Steelers franchise and not the team that they're putting out there right now. And I also believe the same thing about the Ravens. I think something's going on with the Ravens mentally.
You may be right, but they still have enough talent to right the ship. And
If
I
you
think
can
they're gonna
only
do it.
win blowout, if you can only win blowout games, in my opinion, you're not a good team.
Me
But
and
they're
Big
not. I
John
And
mean,
just talked about this yesterday, though. I think because everybody picked the Ravens, they kept saying, "Oh, this is the year the Ravens are gonna, get it done." Big John made a point that I picked the Ravens the past 2 years.
so have I.
I'm not saying the window is closed, but they
why not?
definitely, to Will's point, look like a different football team this year. And it's not a big sample size, but what are they, 1-2 right now?
Hmm.
They are losing games that they usually don't
They're losing.
lose.
They're losing games, and they had this problem even last year. They're just not finishing, which is still a problem. I'm not saying it's not a problem. They're
They've
not
been having
finishing.
that since they won the Super Bowl.
I
But
understand.
this is
What
a
I'm
this
saying
is a
is
new regime under the
this is a new.
Lamar,
But
as
like I
far as
said,
the players.
and you can't. Everybody is quick to blame Lamar Jackson. This ain't really been Lamar Jackson. This has been King Henry.
It
No,
hasn't.
no, it's nothing
This
to
is
do with him.
this has
Again,
been.
and
I
I'm not
believe
even trying to single out King Henry, but
Oh,
again,
no, but I'm gonna say it. It's been Henry with the fumbles, and it's been that the regular Ravens defense we used to seeing being reliable does not exist right now.
time out,
So
time out. That Ravens defense hasn't been good in years. I was about to ask the question: what defense out of these 3 teams who has the better defense between the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Steelers?
the Browns.
And you need to. I just asked, bro. You went to a
I,
critical thinking school.
bro,
I asked you
that's
a
why it was a
clear
joke.
question.
You see
I
Alex
was,
laugh, right? That's why it was a
I
joke.
laugh too, but I'm being serious. Answer the question. Out of those 3 teams, who got the best defense? Who got the more reliable defense?
Right now, are the Steelers.
Still,
right, bro.
Who's
You lucky I
reliable?
couldn't hang
Who,
out.
the Ravens?
Who?
I
You just
think
said it
if
was the
I had to,
Ravens. The Bengals is
if I
more
had to pick,
reliable.
I think the Bengals have a better defense than the Ravens and
That's why you
the Ravens and the Steelers.
That's why you a hooper. That's why you a hooper. They don't.
Okay, tell me
You know
why they
what?
don't.
You did a perfect
me why they don't.
analogy.
The Bengals,
Wait. The perfect
They play.
analogy for that is because I'm gonna throw Will bone. I think I know what he's trying to say, but it's like when Apollo was talking to Rocky, and he said, "Don't forget, you fight good, but I'm a good fighter."
Okay.
Okay, just tell. But okay, tell me why.
I'm gonna give. Okay, I'm gonna say this.
Tell me why the Steelers. Tell me why the Steelers.
Hold on. I'm gonna go to the Bengals first. I'm gonna tell you. Okay, now this defense is probably a little bit better than what the defense that they have now. But 2005, Bengals defense really wasn't that good, but they were very opportunistic. They got interceptions. They really weren't that good. They just made plays. That's the Bengals.
Yeah,
defense
but the turnover numbers and they went 11-5. So I get what you're saying.
Ain't
But
that part of it?
Deltha O'Neal had like 10 interceptions himself. Odell Thurman was
but that's what
flying
I'm
around
saying.
making plays.
But no, I'm not comparing the defenses. I'm saying the Bengals defense ain't good. They just have made plays. They're not. They have
agree.
made certain plays. They're not good.
I agree.
I gave the perfect analogy.
They're not the best in the North right now.
I gave
Nobody
the
is better
perfect
than
analogy,
Cleveland.
and y'all are looking over it. That was the perfect analogy.
I heard you. We heard you.
That is why, because they are fighting good right now, but they're not a good fighter.
Okay, so what? So if that's the case, then tell me what the Ravens are doing, and tell me what the Steelers are doing that is so much better than the Bengals on defense.
They all kind of suspect right
exactly.
now. The least of the evils right now, Steelers.
Okay.
So, but the Bengals are treading water right now, which is honestly all we were hoping for going into this season. Was it not?
Yes, they're treading. What are the Ravens and what are the Steelers doing that is better? I ain't gonna say so much better than the Bengals.
Steelers are winning football games. That's
what's the Steelers record?
Ain't it 2-1?
What's the Bengals record?
Yeah, but they ain't.
It's a different.
The Steelers ain't getting beat by 40 either.
I mean, you are, as Bill Parcells said, you are what your record says you are. But would you rather be the Steelers right now? Or would you rather be the Bengals? Let me ask that question. Or the Ravens, for that matter, because what your record is right now versus what you have the ability to sustain and do the rest of the season is two different things.
I'm just talking about on the defensive part of the ball.
Okay.
Like who the Steelers beat? They beat the Patriots in a one-score game. They beat the Jets in a one-score game. And who did they lose to?
Jets are a different football team with Justin Fields.
I'm asking you a question. Who did they lose to?
Who did they lose to?
Who did they lose to? I forgot.
They lost week 2.
But who did they lose to? Look it up.
I forgot. But they beat the Jets, who's probably going to finish either 3rd or 4th in their division. And they beat the Patriots, who's probably going to finish 3rd or 4th. Nah, never mind. Because I forgot Miami in that division. So, but the AFC East is only going to have one team that goes to the playoffs.
All right.
And that defense was getting smoked by Justin Fields.
The Steelers lost to the Seahawks.
Okay.
To the Seahawks.
But see, I don't like doing that in the NFL, though.
I don't either.
Because as I mentioned, every team in the NFL is professional. Right. This ain't wheel sport. Like you got to go out there and play every night. The reason I say that because the reason I say that the reason I say that is because who would have picked the Browns to beat the undefeated Green Bay Packers going into Sunday?
They say any given Sunday for a reason, fellas.
That's my point.
I'm aware. I'm just saying.
Or wait, and Will, you up there getting weak like the Cleveland Browns didn't just give it to the Bengals. Pause. They gave it away.
I 1000% agree with everything that y'all are saying. Y'all just are not telling me why the Steelers or the Ravens are a much better defensive team outside of the tradition and the history.
I'm having an ADD moment. I'm having an ADD moment because before we pivot away from that. Look, the best podcast outside of this one, and it is what it is Joe and Jada. And that story that Fat Joe told when he was in the studio with Biggie recorded Hypnotized. Did y'all hear that?
Nah, I didn't see that one.
Yeah.
I that I see. I never met Big, but that sounded like something Big would have said.
What did he say?
I can't say the whole thing on here, but you know how Big used to have women come through, the studio to get in
he
his,
had a he had a group of women from each nationality come through the studio while making
And
Hypnotized.
C's was laughing because he knew it was the truth, and then, Joe was like, "I'm gonna just say, 10 girls because they like to say I'm capping, when I say it." But he was like, Big had a Jamaican crew come through. He had a Spanish crew come through. He had an Asian crew come through. He was like, and I'm sitting there like, is this what it means to be number one? He's like, and then Faith calls. And Jada pulled down his hat over his face. He was like, nah, this is a good story. And he said, and Faith is like, you fat, this and this and this. You up there with them ugly, what's or whatever. And Big's like, why they gotta be ugly?
Wow.
But nah, that show has been killing. But look, I think it's over unless they trade for Jameis Winston. I'm just throwing it out there. Period. Point blank. AD believes the same thing. He said we need
I
famous
agree.
Jameis. So
I agree with what y'all saying. Y'all just going off a tradition when it comes to the Steelers and the Ravens defenses, and not paying attention to what they're doing on the field.
No, I just know that if I had to bet what's sustainable for the rest of the season, as I mentioned, and who I trust to right the ship. Again, the Chiefs are 1-2 right now too, and the Bengals are 2-1. Do you have more faith in the Chiefs the rest of the way or the Bengals? I'm saying you can be in different positions. Your record is what it is,
Yeah.
but momentum and just how things feel right now, they feel different for teams that either have the same or worse record than the Bengals.
But what I'm saying is this. We are picking those teams that have a bet or to right the ship based on offense. Except for the Chiefs. I think it's the
I'm
Chiefs' whole
taking
team.
it based on what you alluded to, the Rooney family and Mike Tomlin
But
the overall structure of the Steelers
okay.
organization.
But you basing it off of the offense. Put like this. If the Steelers lose Aaron Rodgers with the defense that they currently have, what would y'all say about the Steelers?
They would be in trouble.
Hold on.
So we're basing it off the offense.
Nobody's disagreeing with you. Okay, well let's not count the turnovers or the defensive touchdowns or whatever. Hold on, wait. Let me finish what I'm saying. The Bengals have still given up more points than the Steelers defense. If you want to say it like that, they've given up more points. The Steelers gave up 17 to the Jets. They gave up 14 to New England, and they gave up 31 to the Seahawks.
You want Jalen Ramsey or
you
want Jalen Ramsey?
They gave up 32 to the Jets and 17 to the Seahawks.
Do you want Jalen Ramsey? Okay. You want Jalen Ramsey?
They beat the Jets. Are we going off a name?
Do you want Darius Slay or
they beat the Jets 34-32?
Yeah,
I still pay attention to Aaron Rodgers.
With Justin Fields. Yeah.
I still pay attention to Aaron Rodgers.
With Justin Fields. I still pay attention to Justin Fields. And I believe that when he comes back this year, he's gonna do exactly what I predicted him to do.
Now what were you saying, Alex?
I was saying, do you want Darius Slay or you want Cam Taylor-Britt?
I would want you to go and play cornerback over Cam Taylor-Britt.
Well, look, the old me.
He wants.
That's what I'm saying. I go.
Hey, Big John. You know I don't do this often. I let other people talk for me. But hey, Big John, when I was a DB, please tell the public.
Oh nah, bro, he was our best defensive back. When he was our DB, he was our best defensive back.
Hey guys, I was there.
Like,
But that's what I'm saying. But that's not fair because I've been very critical of Cam Taylor-Britt. But those DBs been getting smoked all season for the Steelers. And so for the Ravens, they've been getting cooked too. All three of these secondaries been getting cooked.
Okay, so we are moving on to college football because I got a lot to say in college football. The Bengals are in trouble unless they trade for Jameis Winston. That is how I'm leaving it. Unless they trade for famous James. College football. I'm not even going to start off with my Buckeyes because I have been chomping at the bit all week to do this.
Will owe me an apology.
Matter of fact, let me say that. Let me say this in front of everybody.
I wasn't here last time.
Hey, bro, I want to say that I apologize because I said that Notre Dame was gonna embarrass that team. I said that they was gonna embarrass them, and that did not happen. So I want to get on here and publicly apologize to you. I apologize.
Hey, man,
Okay, we'll apologize. Now, look, we'll come back to the U. We not, this ain't Willis McGahee and them. I'm not starting my college football. Yeah, but I'm not starting my college football talk off with the U. So again, I am going a place down in the corner of South Carolina called Clemson, South Carolina. Oh, this is so personal to me. I said a few years ago that Clemson head coach Dabo Swinney, the used car salesman, the televangelist, Southern televangelist, was done. Some people said it was a bit premature. I said it was not. I said he was done when he lost both of his coordinators, Tony Elliott, who is the head coach at the University of Virginia right now, and his defensive coordinator, Brent Venables, who is out at Oklahoma. And it wasn't just that, because they were there when Ohio State pounded them. Pause. That's part of the reason why they left, because I think even they knew that the bottom was falling out and Clemson was not going to be what it was for its little hot run. Dabo has 2 national championships. I believe he's living in the past. It's over. You remember about 10 years ago when he was negative recruiting against Ohio State? Anybody that Clemson and Ohio State, because they have a lot of the players that, get recruited by both schools because of the caliber athletes. You remember about 10 years ago, he was negative recruiting. Everybody was thinking about Ohio State. He was saying, well, Urban Meyer's on the back end of his career. You don't want to go to Ohio State. And when the media would ask him, are you really saying that to recruits or saying that to kids? He wouldn't own up to it and say, yeah. Well, guess what's happening right now? The best of Dabo Swinney is over in Clemson. He's done. I'm telling you. I know they made the playoff last year, but that's only because there was a 12-team playoff. He's done. Dabo's done for a couple reasons. Number one, because he's full of shit. Excuse my language, but he just is, and I've been saying that for quite some time. 2, he's refused to adapt to the NIL era. Don't get me wrong, Ohio State, has some players that they pass on that they feel like don't fit the culture, or if that's all they want is NIL, whatever. But Dabo's almost like the antithesis, don't even want, the transfer portal, to pick and choose here to fill any holes that you have on the roster. So he's fallen behind in that regard. And I do think that some kids have seen through, him versus some of the kids that have left. What's his name? DJ Uga, blah, 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 whatever his name was, Kelly Bryant back in the day. They've seen how he's done some of his kids. Now, I know this is a tough one, but even Deshaun Watson, who he loved and said was like his son, when he was going through his thing, kind of saw Dabo distance himself, not really say nothing, too public, about it. Dabo's done. And he made a comment about, well, if you fire me, take my championships, with me. John mentioned this the other day. Clemson's only other championship was in 1980, 81. Well, you're right, Dabo. You take that hardware with you, but you're not winning right now. And that's all the school's looking at. And they're looking at, again, exponentially going forward, does he have the ability to right this ship? Right now, it looks like no. It looks like you've seen the best of Dabo Swinney. So I believe he's done, personally. What say ye, gentlemen?
Oh,
he should have took the Alabama job.
Honestly,
he's done.
I said that would have been the move for both parties, honestly.
Yeah, but at the time, him taking the Alabama job, especially with the back and forth they had going on them over the years, it wouldn't have looked right, even though that is the school he came from and graduated from.
Dabo would have had the juice though, and that being his alma mater,
yeah, no, for sure. I don't.
The Caleb or whatever his name is down there, and I'm not even a Roll Tide fan, but he's not. No, he's not.
But
Cam said Dabo Luther King. He said Dabo Luther King.
But Cam, me and Al had this conversation off air. He will eventually, but because of those 2 championships, he's gonna get a leash. He's not gonna get.
He's not gonna get.
It's not gonna be a super long leash. He's gonna get a leash because all their winning history comes from him, except for that 1 championship. Yes, he's living in the past, but who is gonna take that job and do?
They're not gonna fire him during the season. But if this goes the way that I think it's gonna go,
funny, like he caught for those years he was there. He caught lightning in a bottle with the Spillers, the Deshaun Watsons, the Boys, the Watkins, all of that. Nobody is gonna come behind him and recreate that. Nobody's gonna want that job. So when he leaves, the job kind of goes.
You might get Bobby Bowden's son. You know that type Clemson that goes 8-4 or something would be considered a good year. But I said that about that school in Tuscaloosa too. Yeah, I said when the old man retires, it was going to go back to the Sean Alexander days.
It's definitely going to go back to when we was kids and you ain't even see a Clemson game on TV. It's going to go back to that.
Brother Juwan said he could come now because that coach is not it. Well, I told you that coach wasn't it, brother.
Well,
it was set up perfectly for Dabo. Dabo should have soon as
he should have took. I know Alabama that was the only person that could have kept the boat going.
Yeah,
but if Dabo don't want to adapt to NIL, then he ain't gonna want to go to Alabama either.
Hey, some players ain't gonna have no choice, and they're gonna sit
it would
you
have
down
happened
and
for
explain
him.
to you.
It would have happened for him at Roll Tide. He wouldn't have had to work as hard as he does at Clemson, honestly, to do NIL. He wouldn't have had to work as hard at Alabama.
Well, Clemson gonna go back to not having games on TV once he leaves.
Talk about the end of this year.
But he's not getting it.
He's not getting fired this year. He's not getting fired this year.
They're not going to fire him during the season like Oklahoma State did Mike Gundy.
I don't think he's going nowhere during the season. He's not leaving out.
I thought that was disrespectful. I don't care if they lost to Tulsa or not. I thought that was disrespectful. Yeah. Guy was your head coach for 21 years and you fire him in the middle of the season. You can't let him finish the season.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Hey, listen, they ain't going to fire him during the season. They ain't going to fire him at the end of the season. He's going to resign.
I still wanted to post that video. Y'all keep going away from the Mike Gundy situation. That was pretty significant. Yeah. Him getting fired.
Nah. Mike Gundy.
3 games. I'm a man. I'm 40.
Hey, man.
I wanted to post that video so bad, but I'm like, I didn't want to do it right after he got fired.
What Mike Gundy has done at Oklahoma State, man, being competitive and being the little brother to Oklahoma, he ain't deserved that. But he's also put together winning seasons and winning teams. He's just been down for a few years.
That man recruited Dez Bryant to steal water.
Dez Bryant, Blackman. Oh, he didn't got players. I mean, no.
Hey, listen, I'm back on Dabo. It's a business. Dabo make too much money to be going 7-5, 8-4, 6-6.
But what did he didn't go. He ain't had that. He ain't had a season like that in a minute. But he.
Well, they've already stated though this is the worst season or worst start to a season in the Dabo Swinney era.
Right.
And again, I'm looking at the schedule and I'm like, well, the way they're losing right now, they might not be bowl eligible this year.
Oh, they're not bowl eligible. I guarantee he resigns.
Or he looked like he wanted to cry on Saturday.
Hey, listen, man.
I seen it in his face.
We know when it's over. We know when it's over.
For sure.
I'm just saying, and it wasn't even over for Urban Meyer when Dabo was saying that. I'm just saying, how fitting is it that turnabout is fair play, as they say? you were telling recruits that Urban was on the back end and you don't want to go there. Well, what are they saying about you right now?
Okay.
Hey, listen
Quick
here.
question. And I'm not saying that eventually Dabo is not going to get fired or he does need to go. But what about the coach that's at Florida State now? They went to the playoffs. Well, they were supposed to go to the playoffs, but the quarterback got hurt. The next following year, that year was atrocious. Like, they were terrible. But now they on the come up. Like, but he didn't get fired. He ain't did nothing. So I'm just saying, like, they're not going to let Dabo go that easily. That's not going to happen.
Well, that's like people that, because we've had this conversation as I transition to the world famous. That's like people that say, "Oh, well, if he loses to that team up north again this year, he's gonna get fired." And I'm like, no, not coming off winning the national championship, but coaching has become a crazy profession because I know it's a totally different sport. But I was just watching this morning on Sports Center where the head coach of the Liberty in the WNBA, a year removed from winning the championship, essentially just got fired or her contract not renewed. And I'm like, how does that happen in today's time? Like, you just won a championship last year. Wasn't that the case with the Milwaukee Bucks a couple years ago? He won that championship, and then a year later they got rid of him. Like, that's starting to get crazy, that energy where that happens. But
Well,
it
anywhere where there's a bunch of turnover, it ain't gonna work.
it depends on the school as far as college and the coach, as John said, what type of longevity, what type of trophy cases, hardware does he have to his credit. That's why Dabo's not going to get fired during the season. But depending on how this season goes, I could see the athletic director walking out there meeting him at the field like they did old Herm Edwards, a few years ago, which I thought was ultimately disrespectful. Like, you ain't even gonna let the man get to the locker room. Like, you got to fire him on the field.
So y'all both saying this year, y'all don't think he's gonna get another year?
He better
I
not lose
think
another game.
Dabo is going to either, like Will said, resign, or the pressure might be too much.
Even with all that being said, I think they're going to give him another year. It's not going to be this year.
So this is the issue to me, right? You want a certain caliber athlete, this, that, and other. If you see what the trend is going in college football, you can't come out there and say like you completely against NIL. That's gonna turn all
Or
the
the
top players
transfer portal.
or the transfer portal. Even if you don't believe in those type of things, you don't go out there and say it because those things are going to those top players and they're not going to want to come to you. And then the B level players are not going to want to come to you. So now your better recruits are only going to be 3 and some 4 stars, and you're not going to be able to compete at the level you wanted to compete. That's why I said it's over.
Oh, no.
Because now you already don't put that out there. So now you're going to have to go back on your word, which you should do at this point, but it may be too late. Second of all,
BYOG, bring your own guts.
It's still it's over anyway for them. For the simple fact is, once he leaves, people came to Clemson because of him and his regime. Once he leaves, ain't no kid gonna want to go to Clemson anyway.
But don't no kid want to go to Clemson now.
That's the point that I'm trying to make, and that Will try to make. It's over now for Dabo.
Yes, I know it's been over for the with the talent he's been getting, especially on the defensive side. It's been over. I've been saying that even when you was afraid that Justin Fields and them wasn't gonna beat them, and I kept saying y'all gonna pop them. It's been over since then. But what I'm saying is, yes, it's over, but he's not gonna be out the door this year. That's what I'm saying. It's been
so not
Why?
during the season. Not during the season because of what Dabo's done and the respect for the 2 national championships and the run that he had. They won't Mike Gundy him during the season. But I think it's going to get real tough around there this offseason, and they're going to have some serious conversations with the university admins and Dabo and the AD. So moving on.
Who are they going to get to make them competitive? Who are they going to get?
No, they don't care about. They're not being competitive with Dabo. So I'm just going to remove that contract, get somebody cheaper, and then work on trying to build it back up.
And they can get rowed a boat from Minnesota. It don't matter.
Go and get Coach Prime.
Now you want to put him in Clemson.
world famous. So will be traveling to Seattle, Washington for their first road game of the season. One of the noisiest venues in college football. They've been playing some better ball this year. Speaking of the Washington Huskies, be first year starter Julian Sayers' first road test. Luckily, the rest of the team is traveling with him and the weapons. There's been a little talk. Rick Neuheisel of CBS Sports, former Washington Huskies coach himself, former coach of Northwestern, took them to the Rose Bowl in 2000, uh, said that he thinks that Washington will upset the Ohio State Buckeyes. Don't really see that happening unless somebody gets hurt or something crazy. But the Buckeyes' only chink offensively so far this year has been similar to the Bengals, the running game, not truly getting going. Had incoming transfer CJ Donaldson from West Virginia and James Peoples, the former 4 or 5 star recruit running back from Texas, who I thought would have been off to a better start. Reminded me of J.K. Dobbins and the film and highlights that I watch. I still think some of that is with the offensive line opening up holes and getting used to blocking for him. But actually, the team's leading rusher is true freshman Bo Jackson, who I wish Nate was on here because that was his guy. He was asking me about him when he committed to Ohio State, and I said he's going to be a dog. I said he's going to remind you of Carlos Hyde is his running style. But Bo Jackson is a true freshman. The press clippings came out this week from Ryan Day's press conference. He said he's going to get more carries and he's going to get the opportunity to prove himself if he deserves to be the starting running back. I've always been in favor of this. Jim Tressel used to say that seniority only counts if there's a tie. But the freshman, if he's the best player, deserves to play. That's why you got a Maurice Claret out there. Urban Meyer was similar in that regard, where he didn't really care about seniority. The best player would play. Got to get this running game going before you get into Big Ten, deep into the Big Ten schedule, because we know coming in November there's a clash up in Columbus against the number 2 rated team in America that you got to be able to run the football for. Have either of you seen any tape or film on Bo Jackson?
I have not.
Okay. Another thing that I like about him, I'm a little bit biased about, is he's an Ohio kid. I've always felt like Ohio kids, like I would even consider Carlos Hyde a Ohio kid because he's from Cincinnati. He transferred down to Florida his sophomore year in high school. But guys like, Maurice Claret, Beanie Wells, uh, Tressel used to say, "Homeboys play harder." So I'm rooting for the kid. We need to get the running game started. I'm looking for uh,
Hey, that's a
Buckeyes.
wild statement coming from
Yeah,
that
that's why I
coach.
started laughing.
Well,
But
wow, what did I say?
That's
That
a
was
wild statement.
it sound say that, play that in your head in the German Trust
what
voice.
did
And
I
how would that
say? I
sound?
don't even know what I said.
No,
Homeboys play
not the
harder. Pause.
homeboys play harder. No, 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 no,
That's
no, no, no,
not
no,
a
no, 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 no,
pause.
no, no,
No,
no.
I'm just
I
saying
was,
it for that.
I wasn't saying it in a pause fashion. That ain't
No,
what I was
I
saying.
was
That's
saying
a
it because
wild
that's what
statement.
kind of came out.
I was just saying that coming from
German
that
Trust will
coach.
sound
That's a
kind of like
crazy statement.
Ah, yeah, okay.
that's what I was laughing at. I was laughing at that. I wasn't laughing at that pause thing, but I was laughing at that.
Well, he was just trying to say that he believes guys from Ohio obviously play harder because it means more. They grow up in the state of Ohio. If they get to come to their state university, it's deeply entrenched in them and they care, a bit more. I felt that way, particularly with that last game in November, the past several years, where when I grew up, guys like Teddy, Troy, Dante Whitner in the game, that meant everything to them. Even Captain Jack, last year, they did not get it done because of him. He had a hell of a game against that team up north, and that's why he didn't allow that flag to be planted either. So I'm looking for the Buckeyes to remain undefeated, get their first road victory, notch that. Has anybody seen the kid from University of Ann Arbor that everybody was raving about so much. I know somebody's seen highlights of Bryce Underwood, right?
Yeah.
Our impressions of Bryce Underwood so far.
He a dog. I mean, I think he got a lot that he can still work on, but I mean, he's a very, very. I mean, he's a good quarterback. He can grow to be something special. I don't think that him and him only would be a reason why they beat Ohio State this year.
Yeah.
This whole combination of Cam Newton and Tom Brady comparison that they said, I don't see that yet.
Nah,
I don't think that should have been made.
I don't think they, and even though this is going to sound crazy because the success they've been having over the past couple of years, they don't have enough around him yet right now. And he has, and Will say, he has to grow into the position, grow into what he's doing. He gonna have some. It's gonna be a learning curve, but I think he'll be okay.
Ohio State gonna beat Michigan this year just based off of defense.
Matt Patricia was a good hire. A lot of people questioned and made a lot of noise about that. And there was some credence to it because you never know. And it goes both ways as far as whether guys can transition from coming back from the pros to college or transition from college to going to pro. Everybody can't make that transition. And even I had some questions because Matt Patricia, it had been like 20 years since he coached college football. But he did study under one of the best. And what I will say, as far as head coaches, Belichick doesn't churn out the best head coaching candidates, but his coordinators usually do pretty good, from that tree. And we talked about it in that Texas game briefly. We didn't get, really deep into it on here, but he had Arch Manning befuddled. And honestly, I could say that Texas and Arch Manning hasn't recovered yet from that this year. I think that took a lot of their swag and confidence out of them coming into this year. And the biggest stat of that game, like I said, Texas went for it on fourth down 5 times. It got stopped 4 times.
Yeah, Art's been
Yeah.
looking real regular.
He said real regular.
He has, man. I ain't trying to be funny, man. He has. And like I said, this is his first real year as a starter, so give him some grace. But he ain't all the hype that's been surrounding him. He ain't been
All the
looking
Paul Feinbaum hype.
Yeah.
He's gonna be the best quarterback of the past.
Yeah.
What did he say? 20-something years college football, 25, 30 years.
Relax, my guy. I'm not saying Arch is gonna be bad. I feel like he's gonna be okay. He's gonna be good, but he's just going through his growing pains. He'll be fine, but he ain't what he's trying to make him out to be. Not right now.
So our Cincinnati Reds, I'm just gonna spend a quick moment on them, and we'll wrap up with the boxing talk. We're in position to lock up the third and final wild card, I believe, yesterday, and coughed it up. Beginning of the season, when people ask, and I think we'll ask, no, that was Nate that asked me, what did I think the Reds were going to do? And I hope they prove me wrong, but if you remember, my exact statement on here was barely missed the playoffs in the last wild card. I said exactly that. Now, that was back when Hunter Green was hurt. Now he's come back into the fold. What are you guys' thoughts? They're about one game back right now. Are we gonna get to see the Red Legs in the playoffs? Really?
They got to pick it up. I mean, the coach they brought, the manager they brought in has done a great job from where they were. So I feel like they can possibly.
I saw Eric Davis in the city yesterday. Reds legend, World Series champ, Eric Davis. They're trying everything. You know where I think the Reds went wrong, honestly, man? They started slashing the ticket prices to try to fill up the stadium and $8 seats and all of this. Hey, man, stop. See, because you see what happens when you overhype the situation and you throw them off their normal vibe. Let the people that was going to come. Don't switch it up right now. Don't jinx stuff. Let the natural course of action take place. That's what I think needs to happen because you got all these bandwagons that come down there and throw it off. Hell, the Reds probably ain't even used to playing in front of a full stadium, so it probably threw them off too. I'm just being honest. Like they used to a 3/4 empty stadium and let them play that way. That's just my opinion on the Cincinnati Reds. So boxing, I wanted to talk about that because we didn't hop right back on the show right after Bud Crawford's prolific performance against Canelo Alvarez. If there was any doubt before that Bud Crawford is the pound for pound king of boxing and the best fighter in the sport, there really shouldn't be now, right?
Sure.
What did I tell y'all? Don't bet against Bud, man. I learned my lesson from the fight with Errol Spence. You don't bet against Bud at this point, man.
And
Only
I
person that I
still
can ever see beating him is the boy from Grand Rapids.
don't understand why you all felt Errol Spence was gonna beat Bud. Was it because Bud's from Nebraska? Is
Nah, I
that what
just thought
it
I looked at the time
Because you like
what
Nate.
Bud was doing. Nah, that's crazy. I looked at what Bud was I looked at what Bud was doing compared to Arrow. I kind of liked Arrow more. It wasn't that I thought it was going to be an easy fight for Arrow, but it ended up being an easy fight for Bud, man. So ever since then, I've been like, it's over. I can't bet against. And I mean, from the first round, it was over for Canelo. He just outboxed him, man.
I mean, this was really significant, though, guys. Like, this was history. This was the first three-time undisputed champ in three different weight classes in the four belt era.
Yeah.
So he's gotten all four belts at 140, junior welterweight. He's gotten all four belts at welterweight at 147, and he jumped up two classes to super middleweight at 168 and took all four belts. And not against no slouch neither. This is against Canelo.
Listen, whatever they said about Bud in the past, he ain't fought nobody. This is that. His last two. Listen, he might potentially have retired two boxers in his last two fights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I want Coach on here, Brother Dion, because he kept saying that. Who has he fought this elite? And when people keep saying that, I'm like, well, first of all, you have to fight who's available at your time.
Mm-hmm.
And what would you say if they lost to those individuals? So that means that they're doing what they're supposed to do. Now, I believe that Bud has retired. Well, he did retire Sean Porter, who was another damn good fighter. He could have done that to Arrow, like you said. I don't
He
believe
did.
that Bud or Canelo have anything left to prove. I think they both should retire, honestly, especially Bud. You had to jump 2 or 3 weight classes just to find a suitable opponent. What more do you have to prove at this point?
This the only reason because when I look at Bud, I really feel like a person who is he dedicated his life to boxing, and I don't think it's any like I don't know what he would do without it. Like I'm being for real. Like I mean, he has his kids, he has his
Apparently
family.
make
So
babies.
yeah. So let me not say. That
I
may be
mean,
extreme, but
it's if you ain't got nobody to fight and it's not as lucrative, go train people. Go do something.
yeah, like he has to stay within
You done proved
the
everything.
sport of boxing. Yeah.
You done proved everything. I mean, like I said, I always defer to y'all for the boxing thing, but like even before this Canelo fight, the last two fights I seen him, he done put hands on people. So I really, so I'm not.
Nah, he
I'm
just
not
ain't
even
put.
debating.
Listen. I hate to
Bud
keep
get
bringing
that
this
look
up.
in his face, man.
Hey, listen. He just didn't put his hands on Arrow, man. Like,
Oh no. He put his
Nah, he
paw.
embarrassed him.
Yeah, like
Embarrassed.
you could say he put his hands on Canelo. What he did to Errol, bruh.
I didn't
I
expect
haven't
it to
been that.
be that dramatic, but I expected Bud to win comfortably, and I said
Listen,
that. And Nate's thing always is, well, you ain't been. I'm like, what? You talking about other fights? What does that have to do with me telling you that Bud was going to win that fight and win it
listen.
easy?
All I'm gonna say is the only other time I felt that sad after a sport event was when the Bengals lost to the Steelers in the Super Bowl, the year that AJ McCarron was the starting quarterback, bro. And we should have won that game, bro. Marvin Lewis sat on the
The
set up.
playoffs when Jeremy
Yeah,
Hill
the player.
fumbled,
Yeah,
and
the Jeremy Hill
people
fumble.
still to this day try to blame Pac-Man and Vontez Perfect, who
Nah, that's
really had
Jeremy Hill.
nothing to do with it and
No,
shouldn't have
that's
been back on
no,
the
no,
field in the first place. Yeah,
that's
I'll tell the
Jeremy Hill.
story.
Jeremy Hill lost that game. But just to say, listen, I was sad on the ride home, bro. I was really just like, I
I
can't
was
believe.
devastated on that one, but that one did not hurt as bad as Carson Palmer getting cheap shotted by Kimo von Ohoff and us waiting 15 years for them to get back to the playoffs. All of us went from kindergarten through high school without them getting into the play. No, actually, Big John's, that was his senior year
Yeah, because that
of
was my
high
freshman
school.
year. That was my freshman year of college. But the
Yeah, I
only reason,
remember because Matt told me Matt and G told me when he got hurt, you got up and walked out the.
no, I walked out the dorm. I was sitting outside on the bleacher in Greensboro, North Carolina, bro. I was no point of watch. I was hurt, but that was different because this happened in the first quarter. Like it was still a game. The Bengals had the game won. Jeremy Hill, all he had to do was just fall down and
Yeah,
don't let the like.
that
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 was
one,
devastating.
the Jeremy Hill one was. I didn't even watch the Bengals the next following season. I watched football and I watched college football. I didn't even watch a game for them the next following season because of that.
Listen,
I
I
remember
was
that one
hurt.
was devastating because
It was over.
it was over. I remember clearly what happened. I was with the person that I was dating at the time, and her son. I don't even remember what he said, but he asked me something because he was slick about it. So he said, "Mr. Alex, can we do?" I forgot what he said. I said, "If the Bengals win, man, we can do whatever you want, homie." Like I was so happy, man. He could have had me buy him a jersey or whatever. I just said, "Yeah, like if the Bengals win." The answer is yes, man. We partied or whatever. And Jeff, I was just up there this past weekend with him. He had called me, like he was still living in Florida at the time, with my goddaughter on the phone, and he left me a voicemail because when I'm superstitious about my Bengals, I don't answer the phone. And he said, "I just told your goddaughter that she just witnessed history." This is right after Vontez Burfict got the interception with 1 minute and 28 seconds left. He said, "I just told your goddaughter she witnessed history, man, and the Bengals about to win the first playoff game since 1991, man." And when that mug fumbled, you could hear rat piss on cotton, man.
The funny thing is, me and my dad was watching the game. We was arguing, and he was like, "Man, no, just kick the field goal." I said, "Dad, if they get the first down, it ain't nothing the Steelers can do. Get the first down." They ran the ball. I'm like, "Yeah," and then they said he fumbled. My dad looked at me and he said every cuss word in the world to me. He acted like I was Marvin Lewis.
And
He cussed me clean out.
the crazy
I just
thing
could
about my bad. The crazy thing
not
about the
good.
Carson Palmer thing was it hurt, but it didn't hurt as bad because it was like, oh, this Cincinnati sports again. Here we go again. Like the Jeremy Hill thing hurt because it was over. It was done. Like Carson literally got
Over.
hurt throwing a 2-yard touchdown. Like, and we've seen it. It was kind of like the Kenyon Martin thing. Oh, here we go. Bengals, like it's just Cincinnati sports thing again. Like, so that really didn't have as great as the effect as the Jeremy Hill thing.
Yeah,
It
the
did
Jeremy.
for me because the Bengals came out, stopped Pittsburgh. Just the energy. And I was mad because I was up at the University of Toledo at the time. Like me and Jeff had just gotten back out there. Like Mr. Lawrence dropped us off and barely said bye because he was trying to get back for the game down the road 3 hours. And to cut that on and just feel the energy, even 3 hours away. Because we had been waiting for that for so long, man. And to get the 3-and-out stop, and Carson immediately goes up top to Chris Henry. That's why Kimo von Oelhoffen did it. Now, he won't admit it, but everybody knows. Like, the Bengals were getting ready to not just win, they were getting ready to run the Steelers out of the stadium.
I agree.
The Bengals were putting 30 and 40 up on everybody that year.
I agree. I agree. They was about to whoop Pittsburgh, but nah, man. And I ain't even gonna lie. I was sitting on the floor at my pop's house looking just like Marvin Lewis. And then when they cut to Marvin and Marvin was just sitting there on the field, I said, oh yeah, man. This is painful. Like this. I rolled home, I turned my phone off. I ain't want to hear no music. I ain't want nobody to call me. I just rolled home. I think I rolled home with both hands on the wheel. I did 10 and 2 all the way home, man.
Hey, man.
What I want to know, Will, is how you blur the background like that. I think you did it because you didn't want us to see the piano again in the background, man. I don't even know how to blur the background, man.
I just went to settings, man. Everybody got this, but now the back it just I've been out of a suitcase, so it don't look presentable back here right now.
Man, the only time I felt like that was, y'all know when. I ain't gonna even bring that up no more. But yeah, man, it made me feel like, you know, that meme with The Rock where he just sitting in his car, he just staring off into space. Like, that's how I felt, man. Because it was just like, it made you that mad. Because I hate dumb football. Like, any level of football, when you're a running back and you're trying to close the game out, you are taught to fall. Even if you lose yards, just fall. Just fall.
I don't even have an issue with the play call necessarily, because some
people
have went back to that and was like, man, they should have just took a kneel 3 times. They didn't even have to kneel 3 times. I just, like Big John was getting ready to say, I remember somebody asked me, I can't remember who it was. They were like, well, do you think they told him to make sure to hold on to football? I said, no, they shouldn't have to at that level. There's 2 things in that position with 1:28 seconds left in your own, in Steelers territory at the time. There's two things that they shouldn't have had to tell a professional running back: hang on to the football and don't go out of bounds. Those should be innate at that point, where you know not to go out of bounds and stop the clock. And I know what Jeremy Hill was thinking to this day. He was thinking, well, if I, rip this open or take it to the house, then it's over automatically.
Or if he'd have got the first down.
Yeah,
but he had just run for like 8 yards.
You just have to be smart. Like, nothing is more important than ball security at that point.
That's selfish football. That's selfish.
Dumb. But you want to be the star and you want to break out or whatever. But it also goes back to what I said. Jeremy Hill should have never been on the roster. Clearly, the best running back that year coming into the draft was Carlos Hyde, and there's no debating it. Everybody knew that. See, Will's laughing, but like John knows it too, and he don't even like, his state university. Everybody knows Carlos Hyde was the best running back in that draft, and that's why he played longer than those 2 guys that were picked ahead of him, Bishop Sankey and Jeremy Hill, who was out of the league after 3 years.
Yeah, but after that fumble, that was the end of Jeremy Hill's professional career. But I would even say this: Jeremy Hill, that whole season had a problem with holding on to the ball. Rex Burkhead should have been the running back in that clutch space. It should have been
Carlos
Burkhead.
Hyde wouldn't have fumbled.
All right, man. We can't talk about the woulda, coulda, shoulda as it relates to who they drafted. We talking about who was on the team at the time, Alex. Rex Burkhead should have been in the game.
That was my Burkhead took Boom Herron's spot on the roster.
Hey, listen, that was the only thing that saved your uncle from killing me, John. Was I said the Bengals should run the ball, but I also said Rex Burkhead should have been in the game running the ball.
I wish that Gio Bernard hadn't got hurt, because I would have trusted him more.
Yeah.
In that scenario, honestly.
Yeah.
He probably would have got the first down and held on to the ball.
But it was first down, though, Alex. He had just ran for 7 to 8 yards. Why are you still trying to fight for the extra 3? Just fall. Live to fight another day.
Because he's being selfish, and
he was out there. He was out.
I wanted to break it open and put the nail in the coffin.
Also, he was doing what Joe Burrow be trying to do.
I just know what he actually said. And instead of just going down and living to fight another day or getting the first down on second down, he, for whatever reason, and guys do kill me with that. Like Jermaine Gresham used to do that sometimes where it's like, bro, I know you're fighting to get that extra yard or you want to
Jermaine Gresham got
extend
an
it.
IEP, bro.
You
Hey,
want
listen, I'm
to,
about to say, I tell you, I could tell you 3 or 4 Jermaine Gresham stories. They gotta be once this
Jermaine Gresham,
Jermaine
man,
Gresham. Yeah.
he got an IEP. You can't count him, bro.
what
I'm
I'm
gonna tell
trying
you
to
what he
say.
told a group full of kids. I got it, bro.
I
Oh,
know.
I
I
told
remember
you,
before.
bruh.
What I'm trying to say is, I understand guys trying to get that extra effort, but you just have to be smart. I've seen a
For
lot of
sure.
guys do that where it's like, did you really think you were gonna break it on that play when 2 or 3 guys are tugging on you at that point? Go
Yeah,
down.
man. And they
Like,
end up injuring the toe.
okay, yeah. So on that note, I want to thank everybody who tuned in as usual. If you want to rewatch the show or share the link, please do. Factual Opinions Podcast is available. The audio files on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. The video will obviously remain up on YouTube. Facebook deletes it after 30 days. Horrible policy, but it is what it is. So, thanks, Meta. You can again share this. Please remember to like, subscribe, do your thing. We appreciate everybody. Will West, the best. Nate is somewhere handling business. We love you, brother Nate. Look forward to having you back next episode. Um, Signing out. I am Pharaoh, the Brown, Bruce Wayne, Big John, Primetime's biggest hater, Will Johnson.
That's crazy. That is
Not,
crazy.
not about to add Joe Burrow to that to that list.
All the people he should hate, he don't. Like the coach. You don't hate Zach. You don't hate
Well,
Zach.
he is Zach Taylor's biggest supporter, man. And I just
You
don't
got
Hey,
understand.
hold
bro.
on before you
Cause,
but
cause they
before
gonna give him a mulligan this year.
be,
Again, they gonna say, "Well, Joe Burrow was hurt, so that excuses his
Yeah.
dismal record this year."
We'll like the misfits, whether it's him, Eli Apple. You like all. That's how I know you work with kids. You love all the misfits, bro.
time out. Before we end it, we're gonna go in reverse. Eli Apple, our defense hasn't been good without him. I've said at the beginning of the year that Zach Taylor will, if they don't, I said if they start off slow or if they do not have a winning season, Zach Taylor will be fired. And I'm staying to that. I believe they gave him everything that he needed. And you got to be able to make something work. I don't care if you don't have Burrow or not. Zach Taylor, this will be Zach Taylor's
His
final
record
year.
is abysmal minus Joe Burrow.
Listen,
And
listen.
I
Well,
believe
listen.
that his record minus Joe Burrow is the real Zach Taylor, but Will likes to argue that point.
Well, you just name me what coach outside of Mike Tomlin who didn't have a great quarterback
Ah,
that's record is amazing without a great quarterback. But listen to what I'm saying. So I do think that Zach will be fired at the end of the year unless he makes a fantastic run. Um, and you have to stop saying I hate Dion. I don't hate D. Deion Sanders is
could have
may be
fooled me.
my favorite football player ever. Unlike you all, I am fair with my praise and I am fair with my criticism. I just
I'm fair
criticize.
with my criticism.
I just criticize Coach Prime. Y'all just
I'm
act
I'm fair with my with the
because y'all think
exception
he's
of
Dion.
Dion.
Because
With
y'all
the
think he because y'all think that's him with the headband on his neck and he's gonna go out there and intercept something.
I've said
Dion
that
and Coach
Deion
Prime is
Sanders can do
different.
no wrong in my eyes, so
Okay,
I'm
as long
biased
as
when
you
it
as long
comes to him. But and Kobe Bryant is the greatest basketball player of all time. Period. Point blank. So I got some episodes coming up where I'm gonna highlight that too because I think the Kobe disrespect is getting out of control. So y'all know the season is starting. Before we get off of here on NBC, we finally got the NBA back on NBC with the peacock and the logo and the theme song. Reggie Miller's gonna be on there with Mike Tirico. I'm happy the basketball is back on NBC, but I'm starting to realize I think it was just a nostalgic thing because it's not the same players that we grew up watching. I don't think it's gonna have the same feel.
We won't.
Uh, Bill Walton's dead. Bob Costas don't do it no more. Marv Albert retired. It's gonna be different. The logo
And
could be the same, the theme song can be the same, but it's gonna be different.
it's like a lot of things in the world now. There's the younger generation don't have a level of love or value for certain things like that, like we do.
Yeah, they don't
Um,
care about it being on
they don't
NBC.
care. They just going out there and they're hoping.
Now, is it true from what I heard though that Inside the NBA is gonna be on ESPN, so we still get to see Chuck and
I believe,
Charles and
yeah, I believe that that's the case, but I don't know how it's gonna be. It's gonna look different on ESPN. I don't know if it's gonna have the same flavor. I don't know,
Disney.
man.
They
I
not
don't
gonna
know,
Disney.
man.
try to censor Chuck and Shaq if they want to, but I don't know if that's gonna end well.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work out. I know one thing: Charles ain't gonna be able to talk about the San Antonio women
Right.
on Disney.
I don't know. I don't know. You hired Charles for a reason now.
If
You,
you,
Now,
you
when
hired Charles for you
I'm
hired
not
Charles
gonna
for a
say what
reason.
he says, but we all know what he
I
said.
mean, if you could, and I'm not, I don't want to get too deep into this, but if you could let McAfee get away with what he can get away with, you could let Chuck say what he needs
That
to
that
say.
is true too. That is true too.
But,
That's a good point.
so,
Different standards for different folk.
oh yeah,
You, you see, they just put old Kimmel back on the air.
yeah, but
That's
McAfee ain't
Disney.
McAfee ain't Chuck either. He ain't done what Chuck has done. I understand what you're saying. It's different responses for different
Yeah.
things. I get it, but he ain't Chuck. Even in his field that he was good in, he ain't Charles Barkley.
No, but that's a perfect ending spot, man. We will pick it up. Probably go again next week because again, there's a lot going on and will be going on in sports. But we want to thank y'all for tuning in. Factual Opinions Podcast, latest episode. We'll try and do it better again the next time.